I'd like to call a meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the roll call.
Mayor speaking.
President.
Councilman Rich Norton.
Here.
Kristen Bush.
Here.
Tim Rowe.
Here.
Moving on, I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. So moved by Mr. Brown, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bush. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Workman makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting tonight's consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Moving on to meeting opened by the public. Barb, did anyone sign up?
Yes, we have one person came on us.
Okay, please step up, give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Amy Pontus and my address is 23318 Savage. And I'm here today requesting that a speed limit sign be placed on my street. There currently isn't one. There are speed limit signs coming into my neighborhood off of Patterson Drive. There's one on 233rd, Gerardo and Lippin, and they all say 30. One of them actually says underneath it says 21 children are present, but they all say 30. And currently there is no sign on my street at all, or on 232nd or on Omega. Drivers come kind of from the area where there's the Hustler locals together, and they come down Savage to get to Master. My street's a little bit straighter there, so it's an easy way to get there. And honestly, when they come around the corner from 232nd on Savage as it turns there, they come barreling around the corner. And the trees are close to the road, it's blind, they really come barreling around the corner. And I live like in the third house from the corner there. So my request also includes posting a speed limit, a sign of 20 on the corner, because the visibility is just really bad. Many families walk and ride a bike around that block. I see families up there all the time, and there's people just speeding by. I spoke to Sergeant Spider about this issue, and he told me that it's difficult to enforce because there's no speed limit sign posted on my street or Omega or 232nd. In fact, specifically, he said that in 2015, the Minnesota State Statute number 169.14, which changed to default to 55 in a rural residential area if it is not posted. So technically, he cannot enforce any speed limit except 55, which obviously is too fast on a residential road. And so that was a change just in 2015. I think that Salish may originally not been posted because there used to be a cul-de-sac at the end. Actually, before I remember, between 232nd and Salish, there was 2 cul-de-sacs there, and at some point they got joined together. So maybe that's why it wasn't posted in the first place. And now it's just really used through streets based on Pastor. This issue is particularly bad at school pickup time for elementary kids, which is in my neighborhood between 8:10 and 8:40 in the morning. There's lots of kids standing out waiting for the bus, and people are going to work and they're just barreling through there. You've recently lowered the speed limit on 235th and Patterson Drive to 35, I believe, And, thanks for that there. We really needed it in those areas too. However, lowering the speed limit on Henderson may increase the traffic on my street. So please consider a speed limit sign of 30 on Salish on each end and a limit of 20 around the corner. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Staff, we can look into that, because when she's talking about where the curve is there with those trees, that is not a good curve at all. That is a very dangerous place. So can you take a look at, taking care of that for her? Thank you. Thank you for your comment. All right, let's move on. There is no petitions, requests, or applications, so we're on to ordinances and resolutions. First up, ordinance 221, second series. This act enacts city ordinance 221, second series, establishing a moratorium regulating the residency location of predatory offenders within the city. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Brown makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClellan. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, it's a roll call vote. Mr. Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Mr. Orban?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Ordinance passes. Moving on to ordinance 222. Second series, an ordinance amending the St. Francis zoning ordinance to opt out of the temporary family health care dwelling statutes. I will entertain a motion at this time on this ordinance.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 222.
Mr. Orban makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor of passing ordinance 222 signify by saying aye. Excuse me. Yes, we have to do a roll call. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Mr. Orban?
Aye.
Okay. And Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Moving on to ordinance 223, second series, an ordinance amending St. Francis zoning ordinance regarding accessory solar energy systems. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 223.
Okay, Mr. McClellan makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Orban. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Okay, Mr. Orban, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Okay, well, there's a lot of ordinances today. Ordinance 224, second series, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city surplus property to NSK Properties LLC. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Brown makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClellan. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Mr. Orban, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Ordinance passes. Moving on to resolution 2016-40, a resolution declaring surplus property and authorizing the disposal of said property has no relationship to the city's comprehensive plan. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Mr. McClellan makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Orban. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? All those in favor of resolution 2016-40 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to resolution 2016-41, a resolution identifying the need for funding to complete its 2040 comprehensive plan update and authorizing an application for planning assistance grant funds. This time, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Brown makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Orban. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Mr. Brown.
Just so the public's aware of this, this is a kind of expensive undertaking we have to do every 10 years, and we're forced to do it. So it's something we're not really thrilled by doing, but we have to do it. So that's why we're doing this tonight.
Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Workman?
Are there any, we just got HRA funds for a study for the redevelopment of the town. Is this, any of that funds available for this process? Or is it gonna be completely different separate funds?
Mr. Custer?
Mayor and Council, the funding for this resolution is specific to the comprehensive plan. Some of the work that's being completed throughout the process of the redevelopment plan will benefit and ultimately reduce some of the costs for the comprehensive plan. So they're running concurrent, one does assist the other, but the funding is separate.
Mr. Brown?
Just one other question. Does anybody, Rick, remember how much our last comp plan cost approximately? So the public's clear how expensive this is? Maybe we can get that information to us.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of resolution 2016-41 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Reports of consultants and staff members, engineer trail maintenance. Mr. Bowden.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item in your packet this evening, as you alluded to, is related to trail maintenance. If you recall, last year was the first year that trail maintenance was done throughout the city. That consisted of crack filling the cracks within the trail, and then a portion of the trail system was sealed with replaced sealing material. And the item before you this evening is to finish the other half of the trails that have not been sealed, that were not sealed last year. So we did solicit quotes. 2 quotes were received, and the low quote was submitted by Bargain Inc. of Mountain Lake, Minnesota, in the amount of $57,940.50. So staff's recommendation is to accept the quotes and then to award the trail maintenance improvements to Bargain Incorporated. And with that, I'll answer any questions that council may have.
Okay, here's my question. This is a budgeted amount already? Or is this over and above our budget?
Mayor, the item before you this evening is proposed to be funded through the park dedication funds, and that park dedication fund has adequate monies to take care of the trail maintenance before you.
Council, anybody else have a question? Then I will entertain a motion at this time for acceptance of the bids.
Make the motion to accept the bids.
Mr. Brown makes a motion to accept, and a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. McQuish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting both bids signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. I'll now entertain a motion to award the bid to Bargain.
I'll make the motion to award the bid.
Okay, Mr. Harper makes the motion to award. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McFlesh. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding this contract to Bargain signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to Community Economic Development Report, month, year end, is year 2.
Mayor, Council, before you is the first of an ongoing report from the Community Development Department. I've outlined within it the building as far as the number of permits and the value of permits, both on a month-end basis and then on an annual basis to maintain that tracking. I've separated out the water connect and water sewer fees as that may not apply directly to our building department. Then also noted the code enforcement activities and highlights on the bottom, with the highlights that happened within July being the receipt of the funds from the HRA, a meeting with HKGI to kick off our redevelopment plan, and then the planning changes, which are also part of tonight's meeting. If there's something additional you would like to see in these reports, otherwise I will answer any questions in regards to this report.
Council? Very good, thank you. Police Department, second quarter update.
Mayor, council, tonight I'd just like to provide a few, an overview of some police department activity and stats from the second quarter, going from April to June of this year. I'll be providing quarterly reports and do some comparison with the previous quarters throughout the remainder of the year. And also at the end of 2017, an annual report will be given to you and we'll compare some annual stats. I think in providing these reports, I think it's going to provide the council and the general public a better understanding of what police officers and the police department does, and it's going to create more transparency. Our police officers obviously respond to calls and enforce traffic laws, but they do a lot of other things. They attend a large amount of training, they attend court, they do a lot of other tasks and events as assigned. These events could be on scheduled work days that the officers have, or it could be on scheduled work off days. So a large amount of these activities, trainings and such, and court days that they have to attend are on their days off, that they have to come to work and do these things. When I was putting some of these numbers together, one thing that captured my attention was the amount of training hours that the officers attended during the second quarter. Officers are required to complete 48 hours of continuing education over a 3-year period to keep their police officer license active. St. Francis officers in the second quarter alone accumulated 151 hours of training combined, which shows you how much time is kind of spent in the classroom, so to speak. I dug into this a little further after I seen that stat, and I was kind of curious on how many hours officers actually accumulated over a 3-year period. So looking back to July 13 to current July 2016, St. Francis officers accumulated an average of 154 training hours individually over that 3-year period. So I apologize that stat's not in front of you, but I think it's important to note that officers do attend a lot of classroom hours, they attend a lot of court hours, and do a lot of other things besides when they're not grabbing swap present. So I think that's part of the transparency that I like to be out there, that just because officers are scheduled on their days off doesn't mean they're sitting on them. So also shown in front of you are the calls for service that officers responded to in the second quarter. Officers responded to 932 calls for service in the second quarter, and these calls are broken up into 2 categories, part 1 and 2, and part 3, 4, and 5 offenses. The part 1 and 2 offenses are offenses in which basically individuals could be charged with a crime. They would have to appear in court for the part 1 and 2 offenses if they were charged with them. Some examples of the part 1 and 2 offenses are theft, fraud, damage to property, crimes, burglaries, DWIs, and assaults. In breaking down the numbers even a little further, part 1 and 2, I found that officers responded to 28 theft reports, 5 burglaries, 20 vandalisms, and 10 fraud reports in the second quarter. Officers also issued 98 citations and arrested 8 people for DWI. Officers responded to a total of 131 part 1 and 2 offenses. Part 3, 4, and 5 offenses are offenses in which officers are assisting the public a little more and maybe do some more investigating on certain offenses. Certain things are called to, some of which could turn into criminal activity. Some examples of these 3, 4, and 5 offenses are suspicious activity, vehicle lockouts, medicals, and vehicle accidents. Breaking down part 3, 4, and 5 offenses, it was found that officers responded to 72 suspicious activity reports, 84 medicals, 48 domestic situations, and 52 agency assists. Agency assists are where we would be assisting County Sheriff's Office or San County Sheriff's Office when they requested assistance. And also we responded to 38 vehicle accidents in the second quarter. A total of 3, 4, and 5 offenses total 801 in the second quarter. In the future, in the third quarter report that I will give in October, I'll do some comparison at that time, some comparisons, and see how the third quarter compares to the second quarter. So At this time, we are also exploring ways to get monthly stats on our city website. This would be calls for service and kind of a map format that we have available to us, in which we could show where our officers are responding to calls, what kind of calls they are, and where traffic stops are being conducted. It could be visible on our website. So we're exploring that at this time, and I'm hoping that we make that happen pretty soon. So, I'll answer any questions if anybody has them.
Very good. Council?
Have you been seeing an increase of theft vehicles at all recently in the city?
I think the theft in vehicles has stayed pretty consistent, actually, as compared to last year, I believe they've gone down, but I would have to look at the individual number, but, I review all daily logs, and I haven't seen a substantial increase from my recollection of reviewing the logs of theft in vehicles. I know there's a lot of, the theft by checks and everything like that, your businesses are, and fraud, are more theft at this time. We do get our weekends that we have, where we're actually criminal activity in a certain area, but I don't think it's anything that's consistent.
Okay. Council? Very good, great report, thank you. Okay. Going on to the city administrator.
Mayor, we have a proclamation in the packet for you. I think I noted that I know it's the mayor, but we are looking to have a day to recognize Kiana. Welcome back from the Olympics. I made an error on the report. I said that it would be on Friday, August 26th at 6 o'clock in Woodbury Park. It's actually going to be in Community Park. So I just want to get that on the record that it will be in Community Park. And with that, it's depending on how she performed in the Olympics, this proclamation may change slightly from the version you have in front of you. We're looking to pass a proclamation in honor of Kiana's trip to the Olympics.
Okay. Council, to make note too, I want to make sure that this comes from all of us, so we will all be signing that proclamation. I want to make sure that everybody's signature is on there. When do we have to sign that?
So she competes, I believe it's August 20th or 21st.
The 20th are the trials. The finals are the 21st.
21st, yeah. So after that, we probably, so I'm thinking 22nd, 23rd, signature.
Okay. Council, keep that in mind, please stop by City Hall. Because I would really like to have all of your signatures. She will only be back in town, they come back, her mom, her dad, and her sister leave Wednesday for real. And they will be back the following Wednesday, the 24th, and on that Saturday, she has to leave again to go to practice for another round of things that they're doing, so. She's quite a gal, so please try and make it to the park that night, so we can do some things. We've been talking amongst us, and I think it's going to be a pretty exciting thing. So I'd like to see as much staff as possible that you could be here, if it's possible. All right. Reports from council members. Mr. Work.
I have nothing to report.
Mr. McClish.
I'd just like to thank everybody that attended night to night. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, but thanks especially for the police and fire departments and all the chamber, the Lions Club. So again, thank you for everybody and all the volunteers as well.
Mr. Dorn.
Nothing this evening.
Okay. I too would like to thank especially city staff. We had a great showing, and I know public, I'm sure, appreciated that very much. I know I did. Thank you. I have nothing to report tonight. Anything under old business? Any old business? How about new business? Nothing under new business. We stand adjourned. Thank you. Somewhere in